and welcome to another special interview with Stephen Mehler, who has been studying chematology for the last 55 years. I consider him a master. He's a wisdom teacher. He has studied with Hakim, and together they have come up with this amazing philosophy of how ancient Egyptian and actually matriarchy and patriarchy all derived and where it started from. And we have dived in. If you want to go back into our archives and see some of our previous shows, we have talked about everything from religion to sexuality to even our current times, how it's all been affected. But thank you very much, Stephen, for joining me. Today is a special day.
You're most welcome. It is a special day, and like I said, let me know if anything happens that goes wrong, because the internet is crazy today. It's overloaded. It is definitely overloaded with the election, with all the nonsense that's going on.
Got a full moon coming in. I think there's a portal. I mean, it's just the cosmic worlds are going.
Full moon, Saturday night, Taurus moon.
Yes.
So it's affecting you tremendously, of course.
I'm really feeling it. So the big, from our talks, you were like a great launching pad for me, even though I had always been on the fringe and always evolving and developing myself as a female, whatever that is, trying to figure that out, being a mother of 5 children, being married several times. I'm always trying to understand the masculine, feminine energy. So you've really explained a lot of that to me, gave me much more kind of a root system to hold on to. But what I've been discovering as I'm going along is, so what's coming up for me is I had to get very clear about separatism, because it's so easy to pit one against the other, the male, female. So patriarchy versus matriarchy, like that can be a war. And I do kind of feel sometimes I see that war still continuing today.
It was a war. The Amazons were a response to patriarchy. So the Amazons were real. It's not just myth. They're a great African tribe of women. If you look at the movie Wakanda, and you see all the great women warriors that were in that movie, they're based on the Amazon. But the Amazons were a reaction to patriarchy. They became militaristic. They became warlike, and they defeated the Greeks. And so they actually out-patriarchy, but they were a response to patriarchy.
You know, I noticed different cultures, like I've been studying the Vikings around 937 BC. And what I'm noticing is that the women were very free and had equality. It was very...
Same with the Celts and the Druid women. Druid women were matriarchal. Again, the Druids were matriarchal. The Celts were not. You know, we think of the Celts, we think of the classic Scandinavian blue-eyed blonde. But Druids were described by the Romans as being dark-skinned. And so it's believed that the Druids actually came from the Middle East and brought in the ancient Commission, ancient wisdom teachings of ancient cultures to the Celts. And
well,
so
I know for sure, because I have a Dane and Viking and Saxon blood, but I also know that I have Druid in my history. I've been confirmed with, channeling and psychic work that I definitely do. So can you tell us a little bit more about the Druid so I know?
Sure can. Just another error that happened today on Facebook. I saw a T-shirt, and I wanted to send a share to you. It said, Viking World Tour, 930 to 1066 BC. Oh. Viking World Tour. You would love that T-shirt. Okay.
I love that.
The Druids are a mystery because they did not write about themselves. So the only information we have about the Druids are from other cultures, like the Romans. And the Romans, of course, being very patriarchal, were against the Druids. So the information about them was negative. They practiced animal sacrifice. They did these, ridiculous rituals. This is the Roman understanding. But as we've come down from Celtic mythology, we've understood the Druids were the wisdom keepers of this particular sect. Now, again, like you also wanted to know about the Vikings. It's interesting to know, and we started with Kemet, these great ancient civilizations were not composed of just one type of people. We say the Cometians were the original melting pot. That's 42 tribes that were every race, black, white, brown, yellow, red, and white. Because as Hakim taught, the white race, Caucasian race, did not evolve in the steppes of Russia, where the Caucasus Mountains, where the word Caucasian comes from. No, they evolved in Africa. All races evolved in Africa. So Kemet considered to be the first melting pot. Had all different races. You see all different tribes were the ruling tribe at one time. So you can go back now to other civilizations, like the Romans, the Greeks. They also were not a homogeneous people, but particularly your people. Now we know the Vikings. The Vikings were not just blonde and blue-eyed. They were brunettes. And they also had Saxon tribes. Actual European tribes joined the Vikings and became part of the Viking. So the same was with the Celts.
I think Mercians had a darker skin tone.
And the same was with the Celts. The Celts were not just a uniform Scandinavian people. They had other tribes come in, and other tribes are part of them. So they're wisdom keepers. The priests of the Celts were the Druids.
Well, it's
And
funny. I'm keeping in line with the tradition of my people by continuing the wisdom keeping.
You come from that line, there's no doubt.
Absolutely.
This is what it was great to listen to your talk with Alistair. You talk about the different experience, the different labels you put on yourself, and you wanted to examine this label. Okay, I've gone that far. What's the next level? What's the next level? The point is, as all the great masters and Hakim said, when you get to the point when there are no longer any questions,
right,
only answers, that's when you're there. That's the level you want to get at.
That's
when
right.
It's universal consciousness, again, where we just witness, we don't judge, we don't discriminate bad, good, evil, black, white. We just witness without judgment. That's a very high state of consciousness. And as you've known, only a few human beings have ever reached that level.
You know, something that was interesting, I'm glad you brought up my the show that I did. Something's interesting about it. There was a subtext that I wanted to elaborate on a little bit more. The subtext was that I'm not technically allowed to talk the way I was talking. And as being a wisdom teacher and a shaman, I'm not allowed to be so bold to say the things I did. I even got a little backlash on my comment about the precious, precious Amma, the Guru Amma. It's like somebody saying something about Gandhi or some other guru, Buddha, and I got backlash on that because she is a saint. You're not supposed to say that. So what I said about Amma, and I'll say it again here, is that instead of giving people hugs and kisses, she should give people a little slap on the face for waking up.
Which is what Rajneesh did.
Instead of coddling. So
Go ahead, finish.
Well, the backlash I got was the person thought I was saying Alma's bad, Alma's this, Alma's that. It has nothing to do with her. It's about constructs. I'm not stuck in a sainthood. I'm not stuck in guruhood. I don't need to be.
They were the ones that stuck, who criticized you.
Right.
Because they have to see a dichotomy. Either
Right.
someone's good or they're bad.
Right.
Can't be neutral. So
Right.
you made a judgment, and that was a trigger. Like you talked about triggers.
I knew people would get triggered. I was definitely being neutral. All I was saying was, instead of a hug and a kiss that she gives people and make them feel good for 5 seconds, give them a little slap and wake them up.
I could, again, this is what Rajneesh used to do. I used to love what Rajneesh would say. He would say that he'd pick up the newspaper every morning, and if there was not some criticism of him, some attack on him in the newspaper, he knew he was doing something wrong.
That's true. Well, I'm turning a corner, and I appreciate you being my wingman here, because you're going to be kind of going through this with me. So the corner that I'm turning is I'm technically going to step out of the fray, and I'm going to start going full out into my trance channeling. I'm going to start doing everything that I do behind closed doors. I'm going to start to the public.
Be prepared for the backlash.
Oh yeah.
Be prepared. Again, one of the last conversations I had with Hakim before, when I brought my second book to him, From Light into Darkness, okay? And there was basically an attack on the three major religions. And believe me, I can't even begin to tell you the backlash and the comments I got on that book. And they're still even on Amazon today, some people comment. So he said, be prepared, Stephen. You've joined the battle, and the battle will be there, and you're going to be attacked. We're going to be attacked. Just be prepared for it. But like I said, we don't debate these things. It's either, do you accept what we have to say? You want to learn more? Come on in. Do you disagree? You want to debate? Right. Have a nice day. See you later.
Exactly.
Okay. So you're going to do that, and you don't need my support. I mean, that's great that you feel that you like the.
You're there. I like that you're there going, I see what you're doing.
This is my job. My job has been, we're going to talk, when we get into Crystal Skulls, we're going to talk about another great master that I had. His name was Fr. Nick Nocerino. Okay, we won't start there today. But Nick used to say that if you haven't offended somebody, or you haven't stepped on their toes, you're not doing something right.
Right.
And he would say that it's the way it has to be.
Exactly.
Okay, I could say some things that would be really controversial, Okay, and I was thinking about that actually before I came.
Egyptologist, just you being a Kemet wisdom teacher
Oh,
already.
but no, especially about religion, because it's religion where they want to kill you. I could make a statement now where if there's any Orthodox Muslims in the audience, they will want to kill me. Just recently, Macron in France, they had an incident. I don't know if you're aware. A teacher was beheaded because this teacher in France had presented to his students some comic caricatures of Muhammad. And that is absolutely taboo in strict Orthodox Islam. You cannot make fun of the Prophet. There's no images of the Prophet. You cannot say anything negative of the Prophet. So this poor person was beheaded by some radical Muslim. And that's incredible. And it's the same to Catholics, to fundamentalist Christians. If we could start here now, we would start putting down Jesus and attacking him as a fool. Why did he give his life for these idiots? There would be people who want to kill us.
Right.
So here's an expression. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it now and let the chips fall where they may. There's a popular expression in Islam, in Arabic, very much used in Egypt. When you want to say, like I would say to you, Oriah, I hope we get to meet someday, and then it would be, inshallah. Now, I know you probably heard that in Egypt. It means God willing. Let God's will be done. And they say it with everything. Oh, I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Have a nice day, inshallah. So Hakim, one day, he always would keep himself in check. He would never like to be too controversial, but this time people were going on and on about God willing this, God willing that. And somebody said something to him and said, inshallah. And he said, Allah doesn't have a fucking thing to do with it. No, he would be killed for that in his own country, if you know. And I could be killed for saying that now.
Because he just saw where they were hiding. So they were hiding behind the phrase, and he knew they didn't even mean it. That's the biggest part.
Exactly right. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
I told you the story, and I'll tell it again, how he broke with Islam, because he's raised a Muslim. As his family are, they're Muslim. Again, in Egypt, you're either Muslim or Christian. There's no atheist. You're either Muslim or Christian. So he's a Muslim. He's going to the mosque. So he's 15 years old. He comes to the mosque early. And I told you the story, but I'm going to tell it again. And the imam and the high priest are up at the altar, and they're arguing about what is the exact time for the prayer to begin. Oh, 8:34. No, it's 8:35. No, it's 8:33. No, it's 8:37. And Hakim is watching this, and they're arguing. And finally, they get up and say, okay. He says, the time for prayer has passed. You fools waste all your time arguing over the time, and the prayer is gone. He left, never went back to mosque again. That was his end of being a Muslim. It was the same with me when, and I can tell this story. After I got bar mitzvahed, I was supposed to be a Jew, but I would notice that there was a prayer that every Orthodox male Jew is supposed to say every morning. And he's supposed to thank his God, his patriarchal buddy, thank him for not making him a woman. Do you know that?
I believe this is real, what you're telling me.
Every Orthodox Jew says that every day. To this day. And I said to my father, wait a minute. You taught me to venerate my mother amongst all people. You worship my mother. You worship your mother. How can I say this prayer? It's tradition. That's what we do. No. Not tradition to me. Goodbye. That was the end of Judaism for me.
That's crazy.
You teach me to venerate women, and then I'm supposed to say to my God, thanks for not making me a woman. Nah.
So I don't even know how to phrase this, but this is something I've been noticing. So there's this view I have of how I think majority of men were raised on the planet, which is they're told that they have to hurry up, suck it up, get out there, figure it out. They're not going to get too much information. They don't get, nurtured and cultivated with their emotional communication and everything. So then they suffer in their relationships because women are noticing that they don't have a lot of resources because
they drive women crazy because men are stupid.
Right. And so what happens is women are getting this misinformation that I'd like to clarify right now.
Absolutely.
They think that they have to be weaker than the man to play the game, play the role, to make the male feel powerful, right, and like the king, so that he will give you and love you and do everything for you.
Right.
And so there's this weird undertone in dating, and it's either you're a feminine, like liberal, like total feminist,
Right?
ball buster, or
Right.
you are submissive and
Right.
you're catering,
Right.
and men are like, you know, like
These are all
filming.
artificial. These are all artificial constructs. These are all, as you said to Alistair, these are all artificial constructs.
Right.
And the reason why it doesn't work, obviously, why did Freud have to see all these women that he said they were having sexual problems? Why were all of these problems? Why is Western civilization such a mess?
Right.
Because these messages are nonsense.
Right.
We're all levels of in between. Some women are aggressive, some women are passive, some men are aggressive, some men are passive. You wanted to know when it was objectified. And we said at the beginning of patriarchy, what did patriarchy have to do? It had to change the system the way it was. What was the system the way it was? Well, male and female weren't that accurately defined. A woman could be free, a man could be free, there could be this, there could be that. There were no wars, there were no rules, there were no sexual taboos. So to create the system, the first thing they had to do was make female sexuality evil.
Okay, well, that's the first sign of separatism. So religion...
And that's where you objectify then. Then you objectify the female body. It is something to use. You want it. You can get pleasure from it. But all you're going to do is masturbate inside of it so that you can get babies and have your sons to keep on your... You don't worry whether she has any pleasure. You don't worry about what really goes on with her. It's her fault if she doesn't have an orgasm. She's called frigid. She's this, she's that.
Right.
So that's when it starts. That's when you start objectifying. And that's why sex is so fucked up today, even in the supposed liberal United States today. We talked about TikTok with women showing their asses. Okay, you say, a woman will say, okay, I want to be liberated. I want to be free. I don't want to be, I should be able to go around bare-breasted and go. Right, but what's going to happen is you're going to have the act of the culture, of the system is going to turn against you. Recently, let me show you a story. Recently, there was an actress. I don't know her name. I think she was European. But about a year or two ago, went to Egypt and had pictures of herself taken nude at all the sites. So, first response, okay, from the feminists is, well, she should be free. Isn't it beautiful? Look how beautiful she looks at the sites, at the temples. But the Egyptians didn't see it that way. And in particular, my very dear friend, who's a guide who you're friends with, who's very liberated, very into the matriarchy, believes in the power of women, was absolutely, totally offended. He said that was an insult to the ancient people. It was an insult to the people today because it's an insult to Islam to do that in an Islamic country. And he was totally against it. And all the Egyptians acted violently against it, that she insulted them. She insulted everything. So here you have the different thing. Okay, well, she's free. She's liberal. Isn't her body beautiful? But yeah, but what is the context that it's being in? She's showing off her body. She's not being just totally natural, laying at the beach, being free.
Oh my God.
She's wanting you to look at her body and not the temples.
Right. Exactly. I wrote a post on this on Facebook about being naked as a woman. I mean, being naked on Facebook. So there's a lot of women I have, I go through their feeds and they come on, and you can see they're testing the limits. They're showing a lot of skin.
Right.
I'm like, so, it's just weird. There's one part of me, Stephen, I would love to just put nude shots of me up. I would love it because I'm proud of myself, and
That's right.
Care where I'm at after having
and
fun.
the one shot that you did that Riz took in black and white was very tasty. It was very beautiful. It was beautiful art. There was nothing pornographic about it.
Right. So it's just this fine line of like when it's becoming about just trying to get that, constant, feedback.
And that's what you talked with Alistair. Who draws the lines?
Right.
You say it's a fine line, but you want to have no lines. You want to be a totally free, dependent person that nobody puts lines on you. Right. But that is in a total free society. That would be okay in matriarchy. Here, you have to deal with, you're going to have the Christian influence, even the Jewish influence, even the Muslim influence, parents, teachers, rules, what, you can't be naked in public. You can't do this. Okay, so I used to love in California. See, I'm lived in California, and I lived in Northern California. So there's a beach near Santa Cruz called Bonnie Doon Beach, where it's a nude beach. That's where we used to all go, nude beach. And it's because all the Santa Cruzians were hippies and everybody was open to it. but everybody would come from San Francisco and San Jose, and you'd see all these, I don't want to be racist, but a lot of Mexican men who would be standing on the side, all fully clothed, and just ugly, ooh, look at all the bodies. So it wasn't totally free and natural. But we believed it. Well, that was it. It was the nude beach, and everybody could be free there, and there was no problems. But society isn't open to that. Not all beaches are nude. Not everybody goes around that way. In ancient Kemet, I told you, most women went bare-breasted. Nefertiti developed her own style, just showing her left breast, because the left breast is power. It's the feminine. But there was
wow, I didn't know that. That's cool.
We're a breast-obsessed culture because it's hidden, and then we see it all over in film. We see it all over in pornography on television.
Right.
And
so what happens in Europe when nudity is more normal and
like the Scandinavians
together? Right. So how do we become a society like that? I mean, I don't understand how it's possible.
It takes generations and generations. We have to finally, eventually, patriarchy has to die out. I mean, it's simple. How it came, it'll be the same way. It's only 5,000 years. We've been here 3 to 4 million years. Maybe some people believe modern humans are 400,000 to 500,000 years old. Hakim thinks we, modern humans, were 1 million years old, much older than academia thinks. He says the body and everything. But there's another thing too. Again, when we talked about the evolution of humans, there's one other thing you also talked about. We are totally unique as a primate. So there's where you can get into the extraterrestrial question. We could do that again sometime, because we're the only aquatic ape. Do you know that gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, you put them in the ocean, they drown. They can't swim.
Wow.
So what is it in our background? And you look in the films. Look in the movies like The Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Gill Man, or this recent movie, I forgot the name, it just won the Oscar, where you had the aquatic man, the amphibian man, and she falls in love with him, and that's...
I love that show and that movie.
It's in our subconscious. So did we evolve from an extraterrestrial aquatic human? Did we also come from a world that was all water?
I absolutely.
And the hominids, the humans that evolved there were swimmers. Yeah. Somewhere it has to be explained why we are the only ape that can swim. Not only swim, but marathons, races, tremendous swimming achievements humans can achieve. Not like dolphins or whales, because they're born in water.
Right.
But we're closest to that.
Right.
There's no other animal, not even dogs, not even cat, no other animal swims as well as we do.
That's
so
true.
There's something in our background that, again, makes us unique. It's not just the cerebral cortex that makes us distinctly human. It's the fact that we're naked. We don't have the fur anymore. Where there was a book written in the 60s called The Naked Ape about us. And we can swim. We're the only aquatic ape. And it's part of our mythology of aquatic species.
Now, your relationship that you have with your wife, she's very liberal, right?
She's a radical feminist.
She's a radical feminist, but you are, you yourself are a radical feminist.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
What I'm discovering is that there's a lot of healing that men need from women that we're unaware of.
Again, you have to accept it. If a man gets into a relationship and says, not only this person is not my inferior, of course not, but not even my equal, that in certain ways this person is my superior, and she is my teacher. So part of every relationship, a man should go into saying, I can learn from her. She can learn from me too, what it is to be male. But I can particularly learn how to open the feminine, how to be feeling, how to be sensitive, how to be more caring, more empathetic, more et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, it's a fact that we have to accept. If a man won't open to it, then they're going to go through one bad relationship after another, and which is what a lot of people do.
And that's why they resort to violence, domestic violence, because their lack of communication skill sets, they don't know how to emote, they don't know how to talk with emotional intelligence because they were never taught, nobody ever educated them. So they're frustrated, they have deep feelings, they're sensitive, but they can't share, so they resort to violence, and then women feel alienated, and then women turn against men. And we've just been doing this non-stop. It's a cycle that is never ending.
In every society, every culture, except perhaps ancient Kemet, where women and men didn't have that conflict. But and again, men are taught because we have this penis, this external plumbing, that everything we do is external to ourselves. So we lash out. We use the testosterone to be external. Women are taught that the androgens, the estrogens make you internal. So you take things in. But that's a generalization. That's not. We're 51-49, 51-49. Men have estrogens, women have androgens. I mean, it's.
I mean,
again, you talked about choice with Alistair. Choice is an important thing. Like you said, some people think they have no choice.
Right.
This is a big argument in academia. Is everything predetermined?
Yeah.
Or do we have free will? It's not either or.
Yeah.
Both exist. That's why we have evolution and we have creation.
Right.
They're not mutually exclusive. So
exactly. I mean, you could look at nature for all of your information that you need, just on how the soil hosts the seed and how the seed then has to communicate with the soil and the water and the nutrients.
Everything cooperates with everything else.
That's right. And it's an infrastructure that's created prior to the seed even coming into the soil. The soil is already an infrastructure.
Right.
And so there you give rise. So you can't have one without the other, for sure.
No.
And I think
patriarchy established that men are out, women are in.
There's a new thing that I've been starting to do. I'm starting to laugh now instead of getting mad. So I get a lot of comments. So this one older gentleman said to me, you still have what it takes, or something like that. And I said, thank you, you too. But I get little comments like that because as I get older, the comments change. So when I was younger, it was, ooh, I want your body. Ooh, you're hot.
Right.
As I've gotten older now, they're like, oh, yeah, I still want your body. Like, it's a surprise. But you know what happens, because women don't understand their hormones. And when they start to go into premenopausal, they don't realize how it affects your skin, your brain, your emotions.
Absolutely.
You start to feel shriveled up like a prune because you're literally losing collagen. You're losing so much of that, vibrant, youthful.
But it doesn't have to be. There are herbs. There are ways to keep it. I'm on
replacement therapy.
I've seen women in there, and I mean, Sophia Loren is in her late 70s, and she's still gorgeous.
Yeah, and it's how you take care of yourself, and it's what you believe. So I'm on hormone replacement therapy, and it is fantastic. My hormones are super balanced, slowing my menopause down and slowing aging process.
And that can be done with natural herbs. There are natural herbs that do that.
Yeah, there are.
Don't have to take synthetic chemicals. They're natural herbs.
Yeah, I take a lot of supplements and herbs and things like that. So I think women give up too fast. And then what happens is they're in their 50s, they freak out, or they're going to their 60s and they freak out because they think, oh, I'm no longer attractive. I'm no longer a sexual object. I'm no longer of childbearing years. Men are not going to want me. So they get bitter. And you know what happens when a woman gets bitter? Then men, just any human, doesn't want to be around them. So then they create their reality that they're not wanted. And then women get bitter. So the older women have a stigma. There's a reputation older women have that they're not fun and they're serious and they're bitter.
But men too. Old men get the reputation because they can't get it up anymore.
Right. So they get
they think they're less than a man. I can't fuck anymore. So and so let's get off my lawn. They're bitter, the angry old man. Or the dirty old man. That's
right. And then it goes from that into, I'm so itchy because the histamines out here, there's a lot of like allergy type things attacking me right now.
Me too.
Yeah. And so men also have this where they get like, because you feel like, okay, this is like you're getting one step closer to the grave when you can't make children anymore. You're no longer procreating. You're no longer being asked by the opposite sex to create, a child.
Again, totally opposite in matriarchal culture. Matriarchal culture, the old were venerated. They were the wise. They were the oldest women were the ones that everyone would sit and listen to tell the stories, pass the wisdom down. They were venerated. They were to be taken care of. They were to be respected. They were to be fed. They don't have to work anymore. We work for them. They took care of us when we were young. This, what do we do in America? We send them to old age homes to die.
And this is the problem with society, is there's this discardment that happens, and it starts happening like Madonna. She fights so hard, harder than any person I've ever seen about ageism. And, bravo to her. I mean, she's on the front lines, and I know many women before her have tried it, but she's doing it in the biggest pop culture way, trying to attack, she wants to attract and influence the younger generations.
Right.
It's fantastic that she has the energy for it, but it's exhausting. You can see she's exhausted.
Right.
Poor thing.
Well, Jane Fonda is doing it too in her 80s.
Yeah.
She gets arrested. She gets arrested for climate demonstrations. She got arrested for helping Greta, and she's getting arrested for anti-Trump. I mean, she's she's never stopped. It's still, oh, it's Hannah. Everybody wants to put it down as Hanoi Jane and didn't understand where she was at. I
She
mean,
did
but
an episode on a show she did. I happened to catch one time, and she talked all about. She took her hairpiece out, she took her makeup off, and she showed her face without anything. And she said, "This is a woman in her, I think, 70s." And she said,
who? Jane Fonda?
"Yeah,
She's 82.
82. Okay, so this was late 70s when I saw this. And she
Uh-huh.
says, you know, this society, we're afraid to look at this. We're
Right.
afraid to call this beautiful. She
Right.
said, so I have to put all this on, and I have to put the hair and the makeup and everything for you to see me as beautiful. So
Especially being an actress, right?
yeah. So it was very freeing for her, and she was crying, and it was in the scene. It was written into the script, but it was very freeing for her to be able to explain the different, you know, but men have their own things that they have to keep appearances in some ways, you know, they want to be having fun. They want to seem light. They want to enjoy life. They don't.
That's where you get Viagra and what you talked about, Cialis. I mean, you have to have artificial stimulants to keep you going, right?
And
that's why pornography, that's what sex dolls and pornography and all of this where, I mean.
And I think that's why it's so important to have these conversations, just to take, like we talked about last time, to take the mystery out of sexuality and the scariness out of aging, and to talk about it in a more casual way. So people, because everybody's dealing with this every day. You know, you don't think about this when you're in your 20s and 30s, but as soon as you hit 40, 50 and up, these are real conversations. And, you know, if you understand patriarchy and you understand your power as a woman, and you can heal people and you can take care of your body and yourself, you know, I mean, look at you. You're just like, you are like a Spitfire. You're nonstop. Every time.
And as I was going to bring up, these next 2 months are important birthdays for my wife and I, important dates. She's a Scorpio. She's going to be 70. I'm a Sagittarius, and I'm going to be 75.
Wow.
And we still sit around at night talking
when are your birthdays?
We sit around talking at night like we still did 20, 30 years ago. There's no difference there.
When are your birthdays?
She's November 5th. I'm December 7th. Mine's Pearl Harbor Day. I was born 4 years after Pearl Harbor.
My 11-year anniversary, actually, is on 11/11/11.
Oh, wow.
We're married on 11/11/11.
That's great.
Our 11th year anniversary is this year on November 11th.
Right. So and I'm doing this. This year 70.
Time I talk to you, Stephen, you are non-stop. Non-stop. You have your cultivation, you have your farm, right?
Right.
And you're constantly harvesting, and you're working, and you're doing so many things.
I did drop out for a while, like I told you, after 2018. And like I said, last year I started doing some Zoom interviews. And with you, you've really brought me back out to the public. I had dropped out of the public eye because a lot of what Alistair said, I got fed up with the people with the egos, with the gurus, like you talked about, with this one. You know, I would come up with people who would want to challenge us and want to debate. Okay, want to debate us.
Nobody knows the story of how we met. I just wanted to share the story of how I found you. So I was listening to a Coast to Coast. My friend Dennis Strahl sent me a link of Stephen on Coast to Coast, and he was being interviewed by, I forget his name.
George Norrie, and it was 2005.
That's right. And I didn't realize how far back it was. And so I've heard so many interviews. I've listened to so many interviews over the years. And I was listening, and I was in my room, and I remember it was just playing in the background. And every time Stephen spoke, my whole body just got still. And I got very quiet, and I went, this man knows. This man knows. And I was like, whoa. And being a shaman, I've led many plant medicine journeys. My husband's a trance channel. Like, I'm very privy to all this information. And so as I was listening to you talk, I kept hearing George stay within the parameters of his box. And I kept hearing you like somebody whose wings are like out, and you were just like trying to behave yourself on the show to not be too much.
Right.
And I could hear it in your voice, and your tone was so full of life, and you had so much information, and it was so authentic. You were actually doing it because you really love it. It wasn't just for the storyline or the attention or anything. So I reached out to you, and because the vibration is there, and because we are intuitive beings, you connected, and you said, yeah, let's do this show. So what you didn't know is that I am like you. And I want to erase these paradigms of these like structures, these constructs of how hosts are supposed to talk, and how questions are supposed to be posed, and what you're allowed to talk about. And if you're not Joe Rogan, and you're not cursing every 5 minutes, and you're not an asshole, you know, then you can't be like Howard Stern. You can't be a shock jock. So
Right.
who do you have to be? You can't be Ellen DeGeneres and be funny
Right.
all the time, or what about Conan O'Brien, who I love? And I was, and so who am I? Like but so I realized that I can do.
Stephen Colbert is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I can give a platform. I can give a platform for you to share your work, and I've been so.
I really appreciate it, and you know, we were friends on Facebook before this. You went by Oriah Mountain Dreamer, didn't you go by that?
No, that's actually author. Now that's a funny story. That's where I got my name from.
Okay. Okay.
So she came out, I think, in the 60s and 70s, and she wrote The Gift.
Well, she friended me on Facebook, so that's why I thought she was you originally. But then here we are back again.
That's a big deal. Yeah, she came out with The Gift, and she came out with a 3-box set. Anyway, she was all about the dance, the gift, the invitation. Those are.
But she was into chematology too.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, she was cutting edge, and she still is, I'm sure. But she's another version of a wise woman that you talk about. And so she was one of the first women to come out and really do kind of what I'm doing and talk like this back in the day. And so then she kind of retired out when I started coming up.
You filled the void.
I changed my name. Okay, so my birth name is Barbara.
Wow, I would never imagine that. Oh, that's incredible.
Okay, so listen to this. So Barbara means stranger in a foreign land.
Right, Barbara.
And it's Hebrew.
Right.
And also, they used to call me Barbie growing up.
Right.
Doll. And then I live in Malibu right now, over across the ocean. So I'm actually a real Malibu Barbie.
Exactly. That's so funny.
So, anyway, labels. So I wanted to change my name, and I wanted a name that would fit me appropriately. It took me a few months, and I searched and I searched and I searched. And one day I was at a bookstore, and I saw her box set that said Oriah in big letters, and it struck a chord. I had to have that name, and I said, "That's it.
I'm going to be
called Oriah." So I looked it up after I chose the name. It means light of God in Hebrew.
That's right. That's right.
So no accidents. So I went
none.
In a foreign land to the light of God.
That's great.
So yeah.
You know, there's another topic that you and Alistair touched on, and then you and I have to touch on. Okay. And that's the idea of ego, because we're talking about people who become gurus, people who form the cult.
Yes, please.
That's something that you, Riz, and I, people that get a following, have to deal with. And because I observed it in other people, I saw how that happened, how people can then abuse other people because they get into a position where they have control, where everybody's going to die on my every word. And what I'm going to tell them, jump off the roof. Okay, I'll jump off the roof because you say so. Right. I mean, so it's been a big struggle for me. I have been accused of being egotistical. I have accused by people of saying, well, you seem to be a know-it-all, like you think you know everything. Okay. So you always have to keep your ego in check, because once you get a following and people start listening and dying on your word and think you're so great, it's so easy then to, I'm great.
No, it's really your bedside manner. That's really what it comes down to. Because
I purposely went on the path of not being a guru. And that's why I don't have a lot of followers. You would think I have met a lot of people like you. I have not. I've met many great people who come on tour, who got it, who wanted to keep in touch with me, but very few stayed on to be students.
Well, you have to have a deep want. You have to want to do this.
You have to throw out your ego to be my student.
Oh, yeah. You can't. There's no room for ego in this work.
So this is why I'm telling you.
About you. That's the thing people don't understand when you get these positions. It's not about us. It's all about, we're like the filter. We're just we translate. I mean, that's all it is. We actually have less ego than most people.
Hakeem, that's right. Hakeem and I had this incredible conversation one time where we had to agree that the teachings were more important than any one of us individually.
Always.
And that got tested. I don't need to go into detail about this story, but he got involved with a woman, and she got very jealous of me, and she did her best to try to destroy the relationship. So this happened in 1999. And I left Egypt. It was a falling out. And I thought, that's it. I'm never going to be with him again. I'm never going to hear him again. I've lost my teacher. I'm going to come out with a book. What if she gets him to put it down, to disavow it? That would be terrible. But then I had to sit back and think about this conversation we had that said that the teachings were more important than any one of us individually. And I said, I'm going to hold him to that. So years went by, different things happened. I got a communication to him. I sent some people to him, and he told these people, tell Stephen he's still welcome in my house anytime. So that's how he got a message back to me. Okay. So I went back. This is 1991. I didn't get 1999. I didn't go back till January of 2003. I wasn't sure how he was going to greet me. Would he reject me? And this would have been the crush of my life. Would he reject me? He cried and hugged me, and he told me he got rid of her, and she was the evil one, and she was the one. And listen to how he put it, because you can understand this. She was 33 and in his 70s, right? And he's still performing. He still was sexually active in his 70s. So he was going to try to explain it to me like, he would go like this, Stephen, and he'd go like this. So I went right to my New York street. Riz would know the expression. I said, I understand, Papa. You were chained to the pussy. He lost his senses. He went out there. I mean, there's a famous Yiddish expression. I don't know the full expression, but it goes, wenn der Push steht, which means when the dick stands up, the brains go out the window.
Wow, ain't that the truth? That is so true.
That's a very ancient expression.
Well, what's beautiful is, what I'm loving is more and more men are starting to talk about that and admit that. They're starting to understand the connection.
I admit it too. I admitted there were some women I went to bed with that I shouldn't have. That it was just a dick thing.
Yeah.
It's Spike Lee uses it in one of his movies with Denzel Washington. I don't know if you ever saw the
I know.
Mo Better Blues.
Yeah.
Where Denzel played a blues player. And he would go from one woman to another. So he would explain to the woman that he really cared about, oh, it's just a dick thing. That's all. It's not, I mean, I don't care about these women. It's just a dick thing.
This is where women live. They turn over in their grave right here. They cannot hear this. So you have to have a sense of humor for all those women out there listening that actually cringe when you hear this. So in order to be truly free, because we don't want to be sex slaves, right?
No.
So in order to be truly free, you cannot get into this construct. It's just biology. It's just understanding how the body works. It's jokes around that, and it doesn't mean anything. So when women get too uptight and offended, it means that you're actually subjected to this small thinking, and it's not even meant to be a philosophy. It's just it's kind of a joke about how the body works. It's been misunderstood, and I think women think that we're being told that it's okay for men to go from woman to woman. That's not what they're saying. They're just saying that this is biology. There's times I can control it, times I cannot, and I learn to control it, and I learn to be with one woman. That's
what my whole life is about. That's why I use myself as an example. Like I said, I was very shy. I was a virgin till I was 23. Had to go to a prostitute. But when I came out to California in the 70s, was free, hippie heaven, sex, drugs, rock and roll. And I made up for lost time in the 70s, was with a lot of women, a lot of different women. But as I got to get older, particularly the 80s waned to the 90s, one night stands were never my thing. It wasn't just sex. Again, Sagittarius, I wanted friendship. I wanted a relationship. And I realized that the relationship was so much more important. That if you have a good relationship and good sexuality, you have the ideal combination where you're open and free with each other, sharing, you care about the other people's pleasure, the person cares about your pleasure, etc. So it takes a maturity. We have to mature. When the hormones just hit at teenage years, we don't have the understanding how to control that sexual energy. It can go out of hand. But if we're in a society where it's free, where there's no taboos, where they told you, yes, that's your hormones. You can experience them however you want. For men, there are women you can go to where you can express that sexual energy and learn. For a woman, there are men you can go to and learn, express that energy and learn. But, it's not bad, it's not good, but then you will have to learn to mature and develop a more mature personal relationship. Ooh,
that's the big key word is maturity here, because that is what the big conversation is actually about. It's about...
And it doesn't have to do with age and years. No. I know people in their 80s that are not mature.
And there's people in their 20s that are very mature.
Exactly. They're so-called old souls. When you see them and you know them and you see they're ready going to cut out a lot of the middlemen. They've come here really prepared and they're going to move fast. We have, my wife, she won't mind me telling some of this. when she was young, she grew up in North Carolina, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. In the late 60s, she became very much a civil rights advocate. Hung out, was one of the few blonde, blue-eyed white girl who hung out with black guys. And she got pregnant.
Oh.
And the parents were, no way you could, no abortion was out of the question. And there's no way you could have this child. So she brought it to term, connected with him as a baby, but then had to give him up for adoption. And he was raised by a black family in Atlanta. So because of that, I love her son as he's my own son. I love him very much. And his children, 3 children, 2 girls who they call Teresa their grandma. They know they have a step-grandma, but they know she's grandma. They call me granddaddy. And we have 5 great-grandchildren now.
That is amazing.
And they're so fat. They're moving so quick. The computers are 2 years older on the, and they're doing a TikTok at 7, and she's on TikTok, and this and that, and moving.
I've seen babies in the stroller with their little finger on the iPad, swiping and clicking, and they're like not even 18 months. I mean, they're probably like 14 months, 13 months.
It's because the shift. This is what my Teresa and I love to talk about. This is a feature in her novels, and I want to talk about her novels with you because you guys might be interested in this. But the fact that the kids coming in today, they can't waste 20 years getting the information. They have to get it as fast as they can because we're in a shift. And the shift of the consciousness is happening. This is what was the basis of Hakim's teachings. He called it the awakening. We're coming to the age of 5,000 years of Amen, to new Cheper, new dawn, a new birth of consciousness. So the kids that are the millennial kids, the kids born now in the 21st century, from 2000, they're very fast. They have to get there before they're 10, before they're 12. By the time they're teenagers, they have to know what their path in life is because it's moving that fast. And because the earth changes, more tsunamis, more earthquakes, more fires, like California fires we've had the worst fires in Colorado in history. Yeah. This is going to continue. The earthquakes, the hurricanes that are coming, there will be 5 categories all over the place. There will be 9-point earthquakes. There will be 10-point earthquakes, like Edgar Cayce predicted. He just was wrong about the timing. But this is the end of the cycle. The earth is cleansing herself. And everybody's cleansing, and we have to move. So you talked about, well, people want to go to the 4th and 5th dimension. You know, like people were saying, well, we're all going to be moving to a higher dimension, so don't worry about it. We're going to get out of this fucked 3rd dimension like you
hear me talk about that?
I did. I loved it because it's all bullshit. You are what you are. You move yourself.
Exactly.
We're multi-dimensional. We already have the potential to be the 50th dimension. We already have that potential. It's just a matter of wanting to release. You have to release all the labels, all the constructs that hold us back. And you said, what are the restrictions that are put on us? The lines. Yeah. It's whatever. You say, the people say it's coming from the outside. It's not coming from the inside. Well,
judgment plays a major role in this, and that's why there's so many separatism, these kind of like labels and constructs. It's all coming from judgment.
Have you ever heard of the Stockholm Syndrome? Have you ever heard of the Stockholm Syndrome?
Yes.
You love your oppressor.
Yes.
That's what a lot of women fall into under patriarchy.
Yes.
Why do I've known so many women in my life. Actually, a woman that I got involved with, I don't want to mention names, none of that. But I got involved with a young woman who was damaged. And she thought that the only way she could get affection was to sleep with as many men as anybody who looked at her nice, she would sleep with.
Right.
And I became one of them. But then I realized that I was trying to actually love her, to care for her, to try to help her. And she rejected me. And I noticed then to the rest of her life, every relationship she got into what I thought was a decent man, a man that could be good with her, she got bored and she left the relationship. Right. And she constantly went to one man after another who abused her and beat her. And she'd leave them, go back to them, leave. And you know this story. I'm sure you know hundreds of women like this. They keep going back to the same guy that beats them up, and that's the Stockholm Syndrome. You fall in love with your oppressor. You think that's the only way I can get affection. Okay, I'm no good. I'm ugly. I'm fat. I have small breasts. I'm not sexy. So no good man's going to love me. Right. So I'll take what I can. I'll take the beatings. I'll take the abuse because at least he cares for me.
Right.
Right. That's bullshit. That's
Yeah.
bullshit.
It's a pattern. They're stuck in a belief system pattern, and they just keep reliving the same. It's like a groundhog.
Exactly.
They just
Exactly.
keep reliving it over and over and over, and they keep.
Exactly.
And there's only so much that you can do with people like that. I mean, you can give them the information, but if they're not interested in real change, they're not going to step out and do something different.
And they're going to turn on you.
Well, that's what I was going to say next. So that we're both in sync. I was just going to say that's what happens to me all the time with my clients and people that follow me. Is I understand how keen my listening is. They don't understand how keen my is. So as soon as I start hearing a pattern and I start seeing that they're putting me as a player in their little board game,
that's right.
I immediately back out so fast, very quietly. They don't even see me leave. And that's why you and I, Stephen, we have so much in common. We talk to each other, private message. Do you notice that we talk the same?
Right.
We don't need a lot from each other. And we don't, there's just like, we just say what we say and we just.
Right. And it was like instant trust. We know you can trust this person and say your most intimate thoughts.
It's not about me. We understand we're here for the purpose of wisdom and the purpose of teaching. So when you have your priorities set, it is not this like vampire effect where you're constantly having to suck the life out of somebody in front of you. So that's a stage. I'm not making that wrong. It's a stage of evolution. But I do want to say that I recognize that. So when you're talking about followings, I've gone through many cycles of different kinds of followings. And this particular new following is the best following I've had, even though it's the smallest one. But it's the best one because of me. I'm the one that is totally relaxed, neutral, not attached, very happy to be here, very happy to go. I can take it or leave it. I'm good either way. I'm happy with the people I meet, but it's not about them. It's not about me. It's just about the teachings.
And it's the same with Riz.
Yeah,
because he's a handsome man. Yep. He's a talented man, and he's a powerful channel. Yes. So women tend to fall in love with channels all the time.
Oh my God, how many women are?
So he probably has to beat him. Being a Leo anyway, he has to beat him off with a stick.
When I first met him, there was just a string of women that I had to kind of shoulder my way through.
Right.
Because I'm from.
And gay men too. And gay men,
gay men too.
Because you talk about his developed feminine, that's really appealing to gay men.
Right. And he was
same with me. Again, I was involved in professional theater group. I was hit on by so many gay men. I can't even tell you how many.
Yeah. Probably just as equal for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And again, matter of
fact, I'm past all the stages of insecurity and jealousy and all that stuff I used to be in the beginning when I first.
Very hard. Jealousy is a big thing to overcome.
I had to clear that. Lots of surgeries. Lots of.
For a Taurus, that's very good because Taurus, the opposite of Taurus is Scorpio. Scorpio is the most jealous and possessive of signs. Taurans can be very possessive and jealous, not only of love, but of things, of objects. They're things. My things are very important to me.
The attachment is big for us. It's really big. So I had to upgrade. I had to upgrade and become evolved in my own sign.
Right on.
Understand our relationship. I had to understand so many things because he has mostly female clients, even though more and more men are starting to come in now. It's becoming more open. Right. But in the early days, especially in the first 5 years, like women would openly say to him about how they love him or he's he's their soulmate or they were married in past life. And to this day, they still, when there's journeys and stuff, they still say, you're my husband. I've been with you. The thing is, men say that to me too. So it's fine. Like I've had it. You've had it. I mean, Hakeem would have it. These women would come to him and said, oh, I knew you when we were together with Ramses II and I was Nefertari and you were it. And he'd say, oh, that's nice. He'd always say to people when they talk about past lives, he'd say, that's nice. But the only one that's really important is who you are now. How Riz and I respond when people talk about past lives and they've been married to us or they see us as their spouse. We just say, oh, really? Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah, I can see. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. Like we just we give it to them. Like we just let them enjoy the love experience because they want to feel intimacy with themselves. They want to feel intimate with their teacher. This is how they find us. They relate to us in this way. So we give it to them in that sense.
And they don't feel rejected. They don't feel rejected because being rejected by you and Riz would be a big blow to those people. Yeah,
we would never ever if people feel that way about us, we always are very cordial about it and we're very much let them have that experience. And we're so accustomed to it. But I think that's a good sign because if you're somebody who people are attracted to, that means that you're doing the right thing. You're in the right job.
Exactly.
Your job as being a speaker teacher, you need people to want to be attracted to you.
Right. Right. Or if you're going to be an actor and nobody's going to come watch you act, you have
There
no
you go.
career.
Well, you know, we're coming to the end of the hour, and I just wanted to say this was a very chill, relaxed afternoon with you. Like, we just had some lemonade. We're hanging out in the back porch.
Well, I really liked the conversation you had with Alistair, and I said, you know, I wanted you to, because you have so much to offer. You have so much that you've.
The thing is about you, Stephen, is we have, because of your 3 books, we have so much to clear. We have so much data. We have so much to clear. But today was our first day where we had like a little moment, a breather. But let me tell you, we're still very interested and want to hear all the things that you have to say.
Now we're going to go into shamanism, psychedelics, and crystals and crystal skulls.
Woo, you know, that could be like a 3-part series. I have so much information on that.
Absolutely.
Well, everybody, I hope you had a really good time. And Stephen, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day, your busy day for us. And namaste.
And like you said, I miss talking to you. You said when you wrote to me, I miss you. I enjoy these conversations immensely. I want you to know.
Yes, because you know they're authentic, they're real, they're fresh. We're timeless, and I acknowledge that, and I think we feel it, and it feels great. And somehow I've been really tapping into your wife through you, and I've been feeling her.
Quickly, Teresa Crater.
Yes.
She is a PhD in English. She has taught in college writing and in literature. She's semi-retired now. She only teaches online, but she's a novelist. So I would like people to get attuned to her novels. The first book she wrote is called Under the Stone Paw. So here's the basis of it. It was actually written at the same time Dan Brown was writing the Da Vinci Code. So it has to deal with the bloodline of Jesus. But she didn't know what Dan Brown was saying until he came out with his book. And she said, oh, should I stop? No, I said, continue, write your book. She puts Hakim in the book. She puts me in the book. I'm the basis of her one of the male characters, and so is Hakim. It has to do with a woman who inherits a crystal. And this crystal is one of 7 keys that have to be brought back together to bring in the new stage of light. And she goes to Egypt past lives. She goes to Glastonbury, Atlantis. Extraterrestrials come in, everything comes in. She's writing another version of it now, another follow-up that takes place in Peru. You talked about Peru and Bolivia. We can talk about the shamanism there. Yes. And so her books are what's called visionary fiction. She has a great following. People love her work. So,
well, how do we get her on the show? I mean, I think
she would interview with you.
Absolutely. I would love to hear what she has to say. But I definitely can feel, because I'm intuitive, I feel her energy very, very strongly through you and in your
and we were told by a great channel years ago that her books would eventually become film. Nobody's picked up on that yet. So maybe you guys have Hollywood connections. Maybe it's possible. I'm not trying to ask for any favors or anything.
Send me the link to her books, and we can put in the description, and we could check it out. And you never know who's watching, and we could look at it. And all you need is.
But she'd love to talk with you, because her life story, her 70 years are also pretty incredible adventures. What she, like I said, she was 25 years as a lesbian, total lesbian, and then came out and became bi again. But you know, like I said, she had gotten pregnant at 17, so she had sex with men. But she lived as a radical feminist for years, just strict lesbian. But
wow,
I mean, she just let me know that we're all basically bisexual.
Well, let me know when she's available, and we'll have her on.
We'd do that. She'd love it.
All right. Well, thank you, Stephen, so much, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Okay.
Hopefully, inshallah.
Okay. How do I say it? Inshallah.
Yeah, it means God willing. That's it.
Inshallah.
They say it in Egypt, everything you say. I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Could I see you next week? Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Right.
Okay, inshallah.